Welcome to Earworm, episode 19. I'm Patrick Cloud.
I'm Brian Clark.
Oh, and today we got a doozy. We're revisiting some of our old content.
In fact, episode 1.
The first episode. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, it's here.
It's not because we've run out of ideas. Oh, no.
It's just there aren't any better ones than the first episode.
Right? Because it's dealing with AI.
Artificial intelligence in music. You know, what's crazy is just we talk about this all the time. I feel like this is a topic that's just like every week you and I are going, oh, did you see this other article or whatever? And it's just the truth. It's hot. It's a hot topic. There's a lot going on in the world with the technology.
Yeah, I think that this is AI in general, not just how it relates to podcasts and music industry and everything else, but just the global impact that this technology is going to have on humanity. Probably is, I would rank it up there with the discovery of fire, honestly.
Fire and the wheel.
Yeah, I'm serious. I mean, it's that important.
Yeah.
I think,
Well, I think the more ubiquitous it gets, the fear that I have is that it becomes not as important.
Interesting.
Makes music not as important.
Oh, well, I think we might be going through one of those valleys at some point in the future, you know, because it stems from this. And let me ask you a question. What is perfect fit content and substantially human made? Those terms, what do they mean to you?
Playlist bullshit meme screams mainstream by the album CD show. The show must go on. Earworm stuck in my mind. Can't get it out. It is time.
So perfect fit content just reminds me of the playlists for the drive to the country drive, your road trip playlist,
right,
where it's like you picked John Denver and a little Jim Croce and your typical road trip fare, because it fits into the moment that it is, right, it fits quite perfectly, some would say.
Okay. It's a ease back listening experience, like the perfect mixtape. You've got your jam and you know what you want to basically listen to on a particular.
Sure.
Okay.
Fits a theme or a moment or an event, whatever. That's what I would consider a perfect fit.
Yeah.
But what is it? What's defined what is perfect fit?
Right. Well, if we leave it up to the folks at Spotify, it's got a wickedly different connotation.
It's true. It's true.
As does substantially human made.
Substantially human made. That's the differentiator between artificial intelligence monitoring and like regular music monitoring. It's like they use the term. It's substantially human made, and that's usually like a way to say, oh, AI was used, but it wasn't all AI.
Right.
It was substantially human.
Right, but I hate new terms, new definitions that actually require an immediate further definition to explain it more.
Let me tell you what it means. Let me clarify.
Yeah, it's like, because now we have to define, well, what is substantial in this context?
Right, exactly. And how do you measure it?
Right, and now substantial gets another entry into the Webster Dictionary. It's going to be number
16. Yeah, something like that.
Is it one guy going, yo, that's dope? Is that enough to be substantially? Yeah.
I guess it depends on who it is.
There's going to be court test case, in the future. They'll be like,
sure.
well, this was documented at substantial. And then you're going to have the whole thing that we talked about in the lawsuit with the Lawsuit Tunes episode, which was striking similarity, substantial similarity. These are like gray areas even in the court of law. I have a feeling that we're entering into the not only a 50 shade of gray, but like 150 shade of gray when we're talking about substantially human made. It's going to be just, okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about some new advancements that's been going on into AI. We're going to look at some of the DSP providers and sort of the backbone as to how they present content, and are we being duped? Are we actually listening to more AI content than we may be aware of?
We certainly are.
And depending upon your service provider, which one, Apple, Spotify, Deezer, Tidal, Amazon, pick your one, you might be listening to a whole lot more, and we're going to get to the bottom of why we think that's the case.
Right. Well, I think we should start with talking about Suno. So Suno is a AI platform that we are very familiar with. We've been testing and playing with the model for as long as we've been doing the show. And we're just going to use Suno as like our term for AI generation just for this episode, just because it is kind of ubiquitous. There are so many other platforms that do it, and there's more that are showing up every day. I mean, even Claude is doing it to some degree under Anthropic's flag. But so Suno is an interesting thing. And so what you should know about AI and generative AI, there's two kind of like paths, right? There's one where it's substantially human-made. It's where somebody's creating, they need a backup vocal, they need a flute, they can't play it, they need a whatever, and they can use these AI tools, even in Suno, to be able to create the things that they need. And even if it's for creation, they can purpose them, repurpose them, they can use them as guidelines to be able to write. And if you think that recording studios aren't doing this and producers aren't doing this, you're dead wrong. This is a very widespread usage.
Yep.
And I find that it's good. We got to have tools. It's like a sampler, a synthesizer, or a computer even that everybody was so scared to use in music, but it became a very appropriate tool.
I take a contrary view, and I think that we should also put a big asterisk on this because we need to explain ourselves and how we're using Suno to the audience.
Sure.
We do not use it to generate any content other than our hokey ass theme song that you just suffered through. And
It's our canned cheese.
Yeah, and exactly. And the 18 others that we've made from the beginning.
Exactly.
Because my thing is know your enemy, right? And understanding this incredibly powerful technology. I am saying equivalently on record, and I know Patrick does this, we're not using AI to make music other than the theme songs for this show. And we're doing it on purpose because of the reasons I just listed, but also because I am not yet there where I would feel comfortable using AI in any song or any production that I was involved with. I'm not there. I really love the human element of it, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't do something like that from time to time. Who knows in the future? I don't know. We're not there.
Right.
So,
and I agree. And being not there is okay.
Yeah. I mean, right.
I mean, look at that Boston record. Remember on the bag, it says no synthesizers or samplers were used in the creation of this music. No computers were used in the creation of this music because they were very much saying we're doing it all ourselves. There's an effort here that people don't understand. And it's true. I just think that as a tool to be able to put things in place. If you aren't a saxophone player and you can't afford one to be able to make your demos, sure, or use a synthesizer or a sampler. But the real evil, though, is the generative AI.
That's correct. But there's a substantial amount of generation even on a track, right?
Sure.
So it's important, I think, for the folks that are listening that may not be dealing with this on a creative level yet, other than you doing a Word document or doing some deep dive information and organizing your next, presentation that you need to have.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about making art, which is inherently up until now has been a uniquely human expression, that's something that we've prided ourselves on, as a race in all cultures and all times. I think that that's where things get really, really complicated because, for example, you can go into Suno and you can say, I need a background vocal, a choir, like a gospel choir. Here's my lyrics. And you sing your melody into, or you play your melody into it if you're not a singer, and you play your melody in, and it will literally kind of spit it out more or less with a gospel choir or a Gregorian chant or whatever you want to put in. Results vary highly. And we game it.
Oh, it doesn't listen.
Well, and the more musical you are, the more of a professional musician that you are, when you start feeding it professional musician terms, it shits the bed.
It's totally
100%.
Not built for that.
No, it shits the bed 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And that's great. I love that. I'm glad that it does. But in 6 months, we may be having a very different conversation the next time we do version 3 of this episode.
Yeah, and everybody, you can compare it to the meme of Will Smith eating spaghetti. That was that was done, and then they redid it a couple of years later, and it's so much of a vast improvement. Yeah. And we see that all the time. It's like now when you look at a piece of generated art, let's loosely call it art.
Right. Content.
But you'll see extra appendages, wrong fingers, hands facing the wrong way. Yeah. You'll see words are very hard for it to decipher in the background of things, but as it goes, it gets better. Now, I feel like music is a lot harder to pick out
100%.
Because it's not a visual medium, and you really have to hear it. Now, being musicians, I think that in the experiences that we have, I think it's really easy for us to say, this is AI. This is what AI sounds like. It sounds like an MP3 a lot of the time,
or worse.
Yeah,
and not only that, but just musical decisions that have been made in the AI learning model.
And that's what I wanted to talk about.
Absolutely.
Next, yeah.
Absolutely. Because you got to ask yourself, and you have to ask yourself this, ladies and gentlemen, which is, how is this language model learning? What is it? What is the test subjects? Well, it turns out it's scraping pretty much everything that's available on the internet.
You called it the Wild West earlier, and it's very, very true. It's basically anything that's available. If I can look it up, so can AI.
Yes.
If I'm not behind a paywall and I can look it up, AI is pulled from it.
Absolutely.
And there's a really interesting site that we found, and that, I believe that is at the sloptracker.org.
Yep, there's that, and then the AI tracker.
The AI tracker too.
But from the Atlantic
Well,
magazine.
that's crazy. And we'll link it in the show notes. But basically what it does is you can drop a link to music, you can look up things, you can bring the link or you can drop the file in, and it'll tell you, number one, if it's AI, but it can also tell you if you've been sourced in a learning language,
which I have.
And what did we find when we looked up your band?
Yeah, 31 tracks that they've used as a learning algorithm.
31 tracks.
Yeah.
All bluegrass?
Yeah, all bluegrass and all highly arranged pieces.
Sure.
So it's like, I'm not getting paid for that. No
I
one's
wonder if we
remunerating
could
me.
get Suno to make your song again.
We'll have to try
Because
it.
I think that was a test that was recently run, is like where the Germans found that they could reconstruct songs that were in their catalog, like directly from Suno and accurately.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was just going to get into the way that the generative AI works is it takes and it learns all of these different things. And it's kind of like the way that we have. Like growing up, I listened to Metallica, I listened to the Beatles, and now when I write a song, I always sound like Metallica and the Beatles. It's just kind of one of those things that you learn off of experience. Right. There is a difference.
And the difference is that you actually have to put in, there is no finished product. For you to learn how to sound like the Beatles and Metallica, you actually had to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to be able to play an instrument, to understand what was going on, and to execute. Here we have a computer essentially that's scraping artistic output, or for that matter, all of the output of humanity, and being able to learn from it, model it, and then deliver a finished product that is so good that for the average listener, they cannot tell the difference between a real human and an AI rendition of what, right? Okay. I think that, it reminds me of
more
this one thing.
substantially human made.
That's right. But I remember hearing this one thing, and it blew my mind. This was about 10, 15 years ago. I was talking with a guy who worked at Google, and I was talking about the search engine, and I was doing some low-level complaint of like, well, why doesn't Google blah, 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 blah do this when you search for it? And why isn't this being found? And he basically said to me in a cool way, he was a friend, and he goes, have you ever thought about this? When you search the web, and you go on Google and you search for whatever it is that you want to search for, you're actually not searching the web. You're searching Google's version of the web and what they have at any given moment.
Right.
So there's always this sort of like, the wave, and then there's a wave behind it in a set, and that's what's really happening. You have what's on the web now, and then what all the big tech companies are putting out right next to it, and then right alongside that, now you have AI that's actually overtaking that and getting closer and closer to the cutting edge as processing power comes up. Pretty soon, it can be live, but it'll be automatically synthesized. So it's a fascinating thing. But I think that when your artistic output is on and expressed in a digital domain on the web, whether it's on YouTube or Apple Music or Spotify, it doesn't matter. Theoretically, you are going to be scraped, and the algorithm is going to learn from your artistic expression, and they're not going to remunerate you. Now, there is some lawsuits that are doing that, right? Where they say, okay, and there was a case in point, which kind of really was the catalyst for us doing the episode and the update, saying, look at this. Now we have a suit from GEMA, which is the German version of ASCAP, CSAC, and BMI here in the States, which are performing rights organizations that basically represents the artists, composers, and publishers. And so
So it's like the RIAA here.
Kind of, yeah, it's a little cross between the two. But basically, they went in and said, we're suing Suno because you're using 5 of these different songs, and they named very specific 5 songs. One of them was Rhapsody number 5.
No, Mambo number 5.
Oh, Mambo from number 5. That's right.
They were able to recreate these songs
Yeah.
just by prompting Suno.
Right. So that tells you the level of learning that it's in there. And you can probably hear from the various genres that we've used at the beginning of each show for our theme song how deep this language learning has gone. Because it's pulling up stylistically appropriate, not only production values, but also choices of musical scale and genre-specific types of things, like if it's a screamo tune or if it's an R&B tune or if it's a surf tune or whatever, you're getting the appropriate stereotypical production values.
Right. And, I think the big thing is it learns the language, it learns all of this different music, it breaks it apart, puts it in its own database, and then whoever prompts it is going to get a definition from that Suno program of this product, right? Now, again, like you mentioned, it's not high level. It's not gonna do Ionian mode. It's not.
Right.
It's gonna try and mimic whatever you put into the prompt. It's fun. I gotta give it a couple of things, right? Like to give some positive to the generative AI. It's fun, but it's not supposed to be fun. I mean, it's a fun tool to play with, and it's for non-musicians that can't that can't play any instruments, or they're tone deaf or whatever, and it gives them an opportunity to participate. And I think that's a cool thing. Bring more people in, and maybe it inspires somebody to go and pick up a guitar or take vocal lessons or whatever. And I approve of if you're going to make a love song for Valentine's Day for your wife or your husband, that's cool. Like that's a really interesting thing and an interesting tool to have.
And you're not a musician and
you're not a musician and you can't do it yourself. Because if you're a musician and you made one in AI, you're in the doghouse, buddy.
It's going to be your last Valentine's.
That's right. But I do think it's fun for that reason, for the non-musician and having that very specific thing. Now it's become abused, and that's really what we're looking at now is people are abusing it to try and make money.
Yeah, not only spamming it in the sense of just quantity of uploads, because you're looking at 90,000 songs uploaded a day on some of these services, and they're reporting for anywhere from 70 to 90,000 songs uploaded every day, and upwards of 40%. They've already said is AI, completely generative AI delivery.
Right now,
no substantial human,
no substantial humanity at all. Positive note for Suno. Another positive note, right?
All right.
Recently, they have announced that they are going to limit the amount of downloads that any account can do. Mm-hmm. So even if you have a top-tier account, you can't have infinite downloads. I think what they're seeing is that there's so much slop that's being exported, and people are doing hundreds of songs, and then just turning around and feeding them to the algorithm, right? Now,
but here's a workaround from that. Are you ready for this?
It's just recorded?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, you just take the output of your computer, you put it into another input on your interface. I mean,
don't give away the secrets.
Right, exactly. I mean, hey, we don't want everybody to know how we made that last hit.
But hey, that's a positive PR move, saying, hey, we're going to limit the amount that comes out. And that is probably of consequence. It's not necessarily it probably wasn't in their business plan to do that.
Yeah.
It was of consequence, but that's a good way to kind of stifle it a little bit, right? Yeah. It will stifle it.
But the
fact that anytime anything makes money, it's going to be abused, right? So
yeah, well then that's my point, is that you kind of wonder, why did they even have to do this anyway? It's because there's so many people out there that are trying to get rich quick, and there's a disproportionate amount of people that listen to music in a passive way that don't know that they're listening to completely generative AI music, or let's just call it bot tunes, right?
Bot rock,
our new genre. Yes, but they don't know that they're listening to it, and that's fine because it's on a playlist that's very innocuous, like spa or flirting with my polyamorous barista playlist,
or sleep.
Yeah, right.
Or the sound of 1,000 farts in a jar.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they don't know. And rightly so, they probably don't even care. It's to the point where, and this is the thing that happened with digital revolution, with the distribution that happened musically. Once we moved away from physical product, even CDs, but especially for the vinyl and CD era and back, people could actually hold a physical product in their hand and they could read liner notes and they could look at stuff. But the early days of MP3s and the early days of iTunes and the early days of MP3 players and everything else that's happened since then, peer-to-peer and everything else, people get music, but they're no longer invested because they didn't part with hardly any money, if at all. And then they sort of see it and then they go, well, it's just a file to me. I don't know who the band is. And I remember when I was, teaching at Belmont, even I would get some of the young musicians in the class and I'd say, who's your favorite bands right now? And a lot of them would go, oh, I like this tune called Creep. And I'd be like, oh, you mean Radiohead? And they'd be
Meanwhile,
like,
they're wearing a Radiohead shirt.
but they don't even know. They don't even know,
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know the band members? No, they couldn't name the band members. They couldn't name who wrote it. They didn't know where it was produced, what studio it was recorded in, let alone what band members played what instruments. So there was this thing. So I think that now that generation has now moved into mass consumption mode and they're more financially mobile. And now they can listen to the Chill playlist or 1,000 Farts in a Jar playlist. And then they can go, yeah, that's great. I still don't know who it is and I don't care.
Right. Well, there's no consequence, right? I remember, growing up, whenever it was able to get any money, I was going to the record store to buy a $20 CD, right? And because $20 in 1990 was a lot of money. And like, I remember some of my friends had some music and I had some music and other friends had other music. And we'd all get together and take the effort that we had converted into these purchases and really celebrate them with our friends. And there was like such a inherent value to that anymore. And I just can't think of an instance where people are, especially younger generations, and I don't mean to get off my lawn about this, but that are sitting around and actually like intently listening.
I think it's starting to happen in one area only, and that's with vinyl. I do see, because we talked about it in a past episode.
Is it just us though?
No, it's not. Well, but I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, because for the first time ever, vinyl sales eclipsed $1 billion.
They beat CDs for the first time.
For the first time in 2026. How long has vinyl's been around? Almost 100 years. But it took them 100 years, but God bless them, the vinyl started to win out. What's amazing is that more and more people are getting into vinyl. So I think they're discovering this thing, regardless of age and demographic and whatever. I think that there is this movement of getting back to it that's just happening in an unprompted way. It's not just indie hipsters with beards that smell like craft beer and bacon.
Well, right.
You know
is
what I mean?
It burnout? Are people burnt out on
I think that they
the fatigue of choice and just having infinite and being like, I need better.
I think part of that is there, but I think it's just an inherent need for more of a connection with something that means so much to people, which is music. So I think it's probably that, but I'm optimistic.
Well, the people that control all this don't care about what we're talking about.
And you know what's even more important? So for those of you who are thinking, why are they even talking about this? How does this even matter? Here's why it starts to affect an $11+ billion industry, and it's global. When you think about the amount of people that are listening to music around the world, specifically in a digital domain, where they've got mobile phones or computers or what have you, it's substantial.
830 million people are on streaming.
Right. So if you think about that, that's 1 out of every 10 people. And when you get into more affluent countries that have population, you're looking at almost upwards of 90% of those
high
folks.
Technology is, they say it's 90%.
Yeah, it's the new
Stream their
It's the new, having access to technology is the new real worth when you get past industry and everything else. It's like before it was literacy, could you read and write? Now it's do you have access to technology?
Right.
So I think that that's where we've pivoted, but that's where we are. So this is why this matters so much, everybody, is because when you get into these DSPs, and I'm talking about Spotify and Apple and Amazon and Deezer and Tidal and all the great services that are out there, which pick your choice. However, Spotify is the largest.
Spotify is the largest.
And we're going to pick on Spotify a little bit because I'm not a Spotify fan.
Right. Well, I just want to remind before we go into DSPs, because I got a big chip on my shoulder about physical media, you're just licensing music, right? Just remember that. You're only buying a license to it. When Spotify loses Garth Brooks, I hope you have your CDs and your vinyls, and you want to if you want to listen to it, right? There's a lot of examples of bands that are not on streaming.
Yep.
There's bands like this Ocean Size. This record is not on streaming anywhere. The only way I'd be able to listen to it is putting it on my Plet.
I love that. It's scarcity.
It's scarcity, right? And inherently there's more value to that.
100%.
So, when you go to find some of these records, they're actually quite expensive.
Yeah.
Because there's only a certain amount and there's a lot of fans. So I just want to remind people, it's like, if the grid goes down.
Yeah. What are you left with?
What are you left with?
Yeah.
I thought it was great. There's this movie I just saw. This is a total side note called The Last House on Netflix. It was pretty good. But there's a moment where they lose electricity across the board. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that happens is the dad pulls out the record player.
Right.
And I was like, all right.
But they didn't have an electricity.
They didn't have, I'm sorry, they lost Wi-Fi first.
Oh, okay. All right.
Everything was down. There was no phones, no internet, no anything.
Right.
And that was the first thing that he pulled out. And they only had 2 movies. They had Annie and Air Force One. It's pretty fun. But just a reminder, it's like it can all go away in a heartbeat.
Can.
And
because you're paying for access.
You're paying for access.
It's an access model rather than ownership.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I use Apple Music.
Same.
I'm a user.
Yeah.
And usually it's for ease. It's for my car. It's for being able to discover new things. And usually if there's something that I like enough, I will go buy it on physical media.
Yeah.
And, you and I do a lot of record shopping lately. And we're just kind of going back in the catalog of the albums that were so great to us. And then realizing it's like, oh, I don't have it. What do I got to go. I have to go get it.
Yeah.
Because what happens when it all goes down?
Yeah. Well, And even right,
when,
yeah,
I'll be somewhat optimistic.
But that's it. I mean, you have a huge electromagnetic pulse, and it wipes out the servers, and globally.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're left with we're back to 1970. Now what? We got electricity, but
right.
So I agree. I think that being able to play an instrument, being able to have access to actual tangible media is amazing, and you'll be able to have a lifetime of enjoyment out of it. So ownership model is definitely the best. But when you have access to 100 million songs, pretty much the recorded corpus of humanity, for a freemium model, that's problematic. And that's where I think that Spotify really comes into it. So let me just let's peel back this ugly mess that is Spotify, in my opinion. And this is one guy's opinion.
And we're on Spotify, which is funny.
Yeah. So, come and kick us off.
Yeah, that's right.
Fuck it.
Don't care. This is all very interesting.
I'm just being real, people.
Yeah.
But when you look at Spotify, I've never been a fan of this platform. I've never been a fan of Daniel Ek, self-proclaiming that they saved music, which they clearly have not. But, and listen to what we're going to say, and you can be the judge.
Music.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man.
But
Spotify is essentially, let's just look at what it's worth right now. Okay, so Spotify as a company who only turned a profit last year, almost 20 years of record just being $40, $50 million.
Yeah, and remember that valuation only comes from what people say that they think you're worth.
But perception is everything.
Right.
And it's a big part of it. So right now, Spotify is worth $103 billion. The entire recorded industry, the record industry, is only worth $11.5 billion. So this is substantially more. Okay. Yeah. Now, when you add that in to what Daniel Ek is worth on paper or whatever with his stock options, because he and his co-founder control the majority of the company and their stock, right? They have huge stock options. Daniel's worth, I think, over $12 billion. So he himself is worth more than the entire recorded industry is worth. This is the gross, weird,
so
out
is
of
his
proportion.
Partner.
Yeah, exactly. His partner is too. That's correct. So this is the kind of absurd level of it. They only employ 1,400 employees, even though they're a tech company, so to speak. The distribution of that wealth is completely, highly siloed. It's not a level playing field. So, okay. But essentially right now, as of today, we looked at the stock market. Spotify's trading at right at $495 a share.
Which is massive.
That's silly, considering that here's their business model. You ready for their business model? This is what's happening with Spotify right now. So Spotify has right now, they have 777 million active monthly users. Out of that 777 million, only 38.6 are paid premium subscribers.
Everyone else is listening to dick pill commercials for a minute for every 2 minutes of content that they
That's
get.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
GLP, pillows, dick pills. Yeah, it's all the same.
It's all side effects.
Exactly. It's right. Ease your side effects with this pillow. Yes. So, but like, if you think about that, that is not very good. And so that means that one paid subscriber is worth 17 of the freemium users, roughly. That's sort of your ratio. So here's what's ended up happening now is that with that type of money, so how you might say, well, that's weird. So how much do they have to pay out and what's their expenses? They have to give out basically 70%
to industry.
to the recording rights holders, which is the industry, which is the songwriters and the publishers and so on and so forth. That doesn't mean that they actually get it, at least the songwriters, because there's other hands that take out of the cookie jar.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
like the record labels and the managers,
agents,
right.
publicists, etc. So.
But then the other 30% is theirs. So what is the average sort of they call it the revenue that each of these users, these paid users, are generating? They're generating about $5.96 per month.
Right.
Whereas the freemium models users, because they're having to sit through ads, are generating 34 cents a month.
Right. Represents a much smaller.
Yeah.
The marketing side provides a much smaller income.
Yeah. So when you think about that, and then you go, okay, now this is where we're kind of coming back to the AI, because we're going to land this plane. We're going to keep, right? This is a journey.
Yeah.
But this is where everything starts to come back around.
Right.
Because now you're like, okay, so we have substantial evidence. We're not saying it's happening. We're not, but there's evidence out there. Substantial, instead of substantially human-made, there's substantially incriminating evidence that's out there about Spotify basically gaming and creating artificial artists and playlists and generating revenue off of those at their, which increases their bottom line, which makes their shareholders happy, and then it's not about the music at all. And this is where we have a lot of issues with this, right?
Let me stress that we've done some investigating.
Yeah.
And we do not have proof, but it's very damning. Let me explain how artists get paid, right? So what you were saying with the money, with the 34 cents versus the $5.96, the average that people popularize in the media about an average stream is 0.003 cents per stream.
Yeah.
Is what's paid. Now, you have to realize that is not what is paid. That is just an average of what a stream would pay. What happens is they take all of the revenue for the month, right? And they basically make a big pie. And there's a cap on it, right? There's a certain amount, right?
Yeah.
Put aside.
Yeah.
And then they divide the streams by the artists, right? So if Taylor Swift did 10% of the streams on Spotify, guess how much she gets? 10% of the pie.
That's right.
Right? So it's tilted towards the biggest artists.
Top performers.
Right? You know, your Morgan Wallens, your Post Malones.
The big
because
acts.
they get a bigger percentage of this portion, right? So thank you, scientists might have gotten, 500 streams, but that doesn't mean it multiplies by 0.003 cents per those 500 streams.
That's right. And
they might get 0.003 cents total, considering that their 500 streams are not even enough to be compensated.
That's right. And there is a threshold. There is a hurdle rate. If you don't pass over the hurdle rate, then you're not eligible for a payout. They'll bank what's due you until it meets their minimum requirement of distribution. Right. Right. And if you're making a 10,000th of a penny, you're going to be waiting for that Spotify check for a hell of a long time.
That's right.
Let me just rephrase what you said.
And we are going to follow the money in a little bit. Because that's the big coup de grace.
That's right. Let me rephrase what you said in a different way.
Yeah, why don't you explain it better?
But no, because you did it right. I want to put it in a different way. From I'm thinking about me if I was a Spotify premium account a holder and I was paying every month to be a member of Spotify. and listen ad free.
Is that like
so
$12.99?
I think so. Yeah, it's like
Something-
$12.99. Okay, so if you pay $12.99 a month, folks, and let's just say that you've got 15 bands that you love, and whatever genre, whatever time period, but these are your jam, and you listen to these. If you analyze your playback list month to month to month, you'd probably find that there's a significant amount of the same types of artists, the same artists, maybe different records, but you're really listening to those. Maybe whatever your band is, it doesn't matter, right? Don't you think that I'm just going to pick a hypothetical example. Let's say that you are a huge, Metallica fan, and in that 1 month, just based off of your user behavior, no one else's, just yours, out of that month, 70% of the music that you listened to was a Metallica cut from any album, right? But that's what it was. Okay. Don't you think that 70% of your $12.99 should go to Metallica? Because you've paid $12.99, you've listened to, right? It doesn't work that way. And that's what Patrick was saying before, is that it's all based on a pie, and they don't care about your individual behavior. They look at the whole pie. And it's hard to conceptualize because it doesn't make intuitive sense. You'd think one would equal the other, like it was an inverse equation, and you could, 6 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 6. It's not.
Yeah.
And this is where it differs substantially. I talked a lot about this before in a class that I used to teach on music publishing, when we would ask, and the students would ask that, and I would say, listen, Spotify cannot go back and retrofit this. They've been on record saying we can't do it. It would destroy their business model. So it's too late. That boat has sailed. Now, add into this idea of generative AI music. So now Spotify...
By the way, which also cannot go backwards. Once the jar is off the can, there ain't no getting the genie back in the bottle.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Like your 31 songs, they're there.
Yeah.
There's no unprogramming it.
Yeah, I can't take my 31 songs that was used for generative AI and strip it out of the world's consciousness in digital domain now.
Some musician needs to win a case in order to be able to undo that for everybody.
Oh my God.
It would ruin.
I can't imagine the technology involved in doing that. It's just crazy.
Sure it exists.
But it might. Who knows? But what I think is important is that when generative AI starts making music, who does that benefit? It benefits Spotify, because now Spotify can have, you look at some of these bands, and we're not talking about unsubstantial numbers here. We're talking about these acts that basically are getting tens of millions of plays, are completely AI acts, and they're not easily demarked on Spotify as this is an AI artist. Right. And they don't say who owns the AI either.
Well, 2 days ago, there was a big announcement by Spotify saying any of the AI is going to be labeled as such. Now, substantially human-made using AI is only going to be in the album credits. So if it's used as a tool or a reverb or whatever, it'll be in the album credits. But there's a moment where it switches to completely garbage, completely slop, where it's going to have to be demarcated that. And the funny thing, it says that they started doing this 2 days ago.
Yeah, but we
looked up a couple of artists that we know are AI.
No evidence.
Don't see any evidence of any labeling. So
we're not saying it's happening.
I'm not saying it's happening.
We're just saying that's been our experience.
Yeah, that's right. So they did announce that, and I feel like that's a good thing, and it should be there. You've made allusions to having an AI chart separate from regular charts, which that demarcation can kind of help follow suit. But not everybody's going to claim that they're AI, and they're not always going to be able to catch it.
Right, and I think that's going to be, what a shocking moment when your 14-year-old daughter who's in love with, Emilia Garbanzo, and finds out that Amelia Garbanzo
is Santa
AI,
Claus,
is an AI. Right. That's going to be a heartbreaking moment that they're not real. You're like, wow, you've poured your soundtrack of your life into a fake music.
And not to get off the path, we just wanted to note that Apple Music has been very strict about fraudulent use, having AI out there. But the thing that they noted, which I thought was extremely interesting, is that even if more exists, less people are listening to it on Apple Music. They said that 0.05% of music consumed on Apple Music is AI, which good for them. That's like they're paying attention to those things that are devaluing music for everyone, but getting companies rich.
Because they always pay higher than Spotify does anyway, statistically. The worst paying of all of them is YouTube, which would make sense. But Spotify has always been below Apple pretty much for the last 15 plus years. They've never paid what Apple pays. And why? Because Apple has always been a paid service from the very beginning. Apple Music, even with iTunes, it was a paid service. You couldn't, if you didn't have the subscription, you didn't listen to music on Apple. And that's the reason why Spotify gained traction in the US, because for young musicians and young music fans and everything that didn't have the coin, and they knew that they could listen to the same artist for free just by suffering through some ads, and they didn't really care. And that's also been an Achilles heel for Spotify. So how do they shore that up on their bottom line for their shareholders? They may or may not.
I don't want to accuse them because it's not really proven. Let's just say
that
there's a guy that got insanely rich making AI music, just so happens to be really good friends with the CEO of Spotify. I'm not saying it's happening.
I mean, I'm also not saying that there's a lot of other evidence out there on the internet that can very clearly point to Spotify creating playlists with AI artists that get hundreds of millions of
now that's
streams.
True. I'm just saying that they're not creating the content.
Well, but we don't know where this who you know. Okay, so just keep this in mind. And now think about
We're trying
this.
to tread lightly, and we do that by raising the octave of our voice.
It's like, exactly. So like squeaky doors, you know?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that now you've got these AI artists, and then they have AI playlists, and then people are actually listening to these AI playlists in some instances in obscene levels of frequency.
And it's all background.
And it's or even if it isn't, but it doesn't matter.
And they call it
because
people fried chicken, right?
Exactly.
Is that what it
This is
PFC?
what we call perfectly fit content.
Perfect fit. Yeah.
Perfect fit content.
Yep.
I mean, okay,
Where
so,
it is,
and this
like
is
it
true.
says, it's what it's called.
And this is true.
And this is true.
I
This
mean,
is true.
Right. I mean, really true.
This
Like
is
we're not trying to avoid a lawsuit.
But no, it's a perfect fit content. It's like we were describing earlier. It's the road trip, or the
the
beach,
chill.
the pool party, or the funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Right. Yeah. My dog getting his balls shaved playlist. Yeah.
It's not intent listening. It's background music.
But it could be a disproportionate amount of that playlist could be mixed in.
Sure.
With it could be Tom Petty, and then it could be Breaking Rust.
Yeah.
Go look that one up, folks. But it could be one of those things, right? And then you're like, what is happening here? But nevertheless, this gets back to what we were talking about on how the money is divvied up, because now AI is starting to come into this. Remember, we talked about 90,000 songs, 70 to 90,000 songs a day. 40+% of that is AI, completely generative AI. So when you have that amount of influx, that far surpasses what a human can do, right?
I mean, it's just absolutely
I can't make
staggering.
50 songs of great quality in a day.
Yeah, it's staggering.
Right. So when you think about that, you start looking at what is Spotify paying out. And it turns out they're paying less and less to actual music makers. And they get to keep that money in-house. And this is why. And I'm just saying, you might want to go back and look at how they've tripled their income in the last 5 years, their net worth. I'm just saying.
No, you're not wrong. I think it's one of those, follow the money, right? It's, we were looking at it, and if they started, let's say generating their own music to be able to fill those spots, it's like that percentage gets less and less that's paid to actual artists that are making money.
Exactly.
And we're going to talk about live shows on another episode because we think it needs a lot more research. But when they say, "Oh, well, how do artists make money?" It's like, "Oh, they do it on a live show." It's like, I don't know if they're doing that either. So
past a certain point,
right? Past a certain point. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of punctuate that it's really hard for an artist to go, even if they have a label behind them, and go to Spotify and start and figure out how to farm for more money. So Spotify sees this as an opportunity to make more money coming in. So that way they get it both ways.
Nice
right?
dance move.
Thank you. That's the Donald Trump. He's very proficient in AI. So, but what they did is they created the discovery mode.
Yeah. Ooh.
So
Sounds
let's say
fascinating.
an artist goes on Spotify and they're not getting any traction, which is most, right?
Correct.
So they have a feature where Spotify can keep X percentage of their income in exchange for them to bolster them on the platform and put them on playlists.
Wasn't it 30% or something?
It's like it's 30 to 50.
Oh
like
my
there's it
God.
varies depending on what you want to do.
This is criminal.
Kind of reminds me of like, oh, we're going on YouTube. Well, how do we get people to listen? Oh, so we got to pay YouTube to get it to more people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It is just kind of the marketing tactic.
Pay
but
to
it's-
play.
Right. It's pay to play. So it's really
It's payola.
it's payola. You want to tell people? You want to tell them about payola?
Well, payola is basically where record companies would essentially bribe DJs in the past. Alan Freed is the great court case, the poster child of payola from back in the 50s. And you could say, and now people have reacted, and it's the SEC got involved and say you can no longer do payola. But payola has many forms, and it happens in country music. Still not. It's squeaky clean. There's no money that necessarily exchanges hands. But what you can have is you can have an artist, say like a Carrie Underwood, is coming out with a single, let's say in December. They can say, look, we will give you first debut and an on-air interview with Carrie when she releases the single if you will play Keith Urban's single now. And so it's a leveraging of artists against each other. There's similar things that happen now in the Latin music world. It's still all about cocaine and money and hookers. You know what I mean? Right. But that was the case for the 70s and everything else, where you get the guy from the label show up at the radio station, they close the blinds, and infamous things start to happen.
And that's why you see, you don't see this as much anymore, but you used to have very specific release dates on things because you had to know that you weren't putting your label mates against each other on a Tuesday.
That's right, because everybody's got their turn on the wheel,
right.
And a record label wants as many artists as they can possibly get, but yet they can't market them all. And so what do? They reward the higher earners with the premium spots. It's exactly a Spotify kind of a playlist.
That's amazing. I never put those together like that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So anyway, that's, I think, the scary part of this whole situation that we've got going on.
Well, the good thing is it's not falling on deaf ears, right? Things are happening.
True.
Like people are making big moves and big changes. There's a licensing deal in the works with BMG, right? With Suno. Well, they'll have the license to be able to use
their catalog
to train from. Now, it begs a lot of questions.
Oh, does it?
Like, what's the barrier? Like, what could I effectively go to Suno and once this is done and say, I need you to recreate "Let It Be" and call it "Put It in Me," and and I want you to change it to a very specific, aggressive song, but it could be the same song, and I want John Lennon singing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it can happen. I mean, it's already at that point now, Suno today, where if you speak into it and you use your voice, it will do its best to render your voice back to you. Now, I'm not ever going to do that, but someone could easily do that.
Right.
And
that's kind of like auto-tune, right?
Yeah, in a way. I don't know. We'll ask Cher.
Shit, we'll ask ChatGPT.
But like, if you think about that, I mean, yeah. So right, what is the law, and does this cross the idea? In the very first episode, I obliviated far too long on what I think is going to happen, which is we're going to get into these image and likeness thing. And if I was an IP attorney, I would shift all of my focus away from the recorded material and focus solely on image and likeness, because likeness is the big part of it. Yeah. That's the non-visual part. You can also define and say, this AI track that somebody is out there on a chart now making money on sounds too similar to my artist, my client.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get into some real. I guarantee you, we're going to have these types of court cases that are going to come forward.
I'm sure, and
there's going
to be like a precedent from action figure cases and stuff like that, because those were important things. And we talked a lot in the last episode about some of the creative ways. I thought it was interesting that James Earl Jones sold his voice to Disney for them to use in their AI models to make Darth Vader, which I'm okay with that, because I think he had the right to do that. It's his, right? And now he lives posthumously through, the Disney profile, right? Which is huge.
Well, and not only just in that's big money, but you can do it on a more non-local level in the sense of money-wise, where there's no money exchanging hands. But we've had this problem sometimes where if we do a live performance and somebody speaks into the microphone and says the wrong pronunciation of a piece, or they just say something that they misspoke, we can literally go back in and change it using their voice, because their voice has already been analyzed in an algorithm, and you can get them to not only that, but if I wanted to promote a single or a video or whatever, I could literally get the artist's voice to say the type that I want. I could type up any copy that I want and have an artist really read it. That to me is a huge amount of IP infringement.
Right. And it brings to question a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of dangerous people out there.
Right.
And if you think about that, I mean, think of the classic scam of the person calling your grandmother and saying, hey, this is your grandson. I'm in jail in Atlanta and I need you to bail me out, or whatever it is. That actually happened to my grandmother. Wow. And it was me. Right.
Wow.
And they sounded like me, but this was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Think about what they could do now on a scam level.
Oh, totally.
Just manipulating voices like that.
Absolutely.
So that's why if you get a call from somebody you don't know, you do not answer it most of the time. They will leave a message if it's important, because all they're trying to get you to do is talk on the end of a microphone.
Talk on the end of the microphone.
Because then they'll use it and turn you into a keyboard.
My mom worked a lot with first responders and underserved communities back in Dallas, and then it spread out to nationwide kind of stuff. It was a fascinating thing that she did before she passed away. And I love you, Mom. And the thing is that one of the things that the FBI told her, I was in the room when we were talking about this, because we were getting into high-level fraud, and they said, when you have your phone, and you go with the greeting, because most people like to leave their own greeting. It's personal and everything else. They advise that if you have any type of public profile, or you just want to protect yourself from these types of individuals, that you take that off and you use the generic computer voice. This person is not available right now.
Yeah, because they will record that too.
Because they'll record that, and so then they don't have an imprint of what your voice sounds like.
Yep. I've eliminated a lot of that. And this is just a tip. Teach your parents this. Teach your grandparents this. It's really important. Number one, teach them about AI so they don't get tricked and all of a sudden your inheritance is gone. But, but I think the really thing that Apple did was they created a screening of your calls. Mm-hmm. So if it's not a familiar number, it asks them who they are before it'll even ring your phone. Yeah. So I have that set. So I'll see a number come in and they'll hang up.
Right.
And then that's the way to get rid of them.
Yeah,
right?
that's perfect.
Yeah. So I recommend that. That's a really good feature. So
yeah. So getting back to the AI stuff, we're going into this because we're just trying to say that what's happening now, since we started in April with our very first episode, now we're at 19 episodes in, we're already seeing enough of a churn and a substantial development. Keep your eyes out for what Suno is happening and Udio. These are sort of the generative AI music programs that are out there. But you might start seeing it on others with, Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT and everything else. And what's interesting about Suno is that Suno is has very close ties with Lightspeed, and that gets into private equity. So these are big players behind the scenes of what's driving this technology, and there's a lot of money to be made here.
Yeah,
and so we have.
And
to
Anthropic has a relationship with Lightspeed,
and Anthropic as
well, and they got in trouble because they were doing music on the Claude platform.
Yep.
And that blew up in their face quite a bit. They had to pay a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
For licensing. Yeah.
Yep. So we're just at the beginning of this.
Just remember that BlackRock's involved. I'm just gotta say it again.
Yeah.
I just gotta say it again.
Yeah, they are one of the major stakeholders in Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As in probably this Shure microphone, this desk, that computer monitor,
Right. My left molar.
your bananas and your, you know what I mean? Yeah, your left molar.
True. That's true. Well, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of stuff today.
There's so much more to even unpack, though. I mean,
Yeah, we'll
it's-
keep you updated
Yeah,
as we
and that's what I was going to say is we'll probably have a third and a fourth
Oh, yeah.
AI episode. But I think really a couple of things to take away if you really want to get into supporting your artists, right? So number one is if you use a Spotify playlist to go to sleep,
Don't.
you just listen to the music you like listen to artists that you like, because what happens is if you listen to a playlist of AI music every night, all it's telling Spotify and all of the algorithm is that this is what this person likes.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden that's what you're getting force fed a lot of the time.
Yep.
So I think that's a really important thing, and it helps your artist as well. They get a little bit more visibility. But the only and the best way, and we'll say this probably at the end of all the episodes, is that go to their shows, go to as many shows, go see people you've never heard of. Discovering music is such a great and beautiful thing that we just get it force driven to us all the time, where it's like, go out and find it yourself. It's much more rewarding that way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, exactly. I'm not saying drop your streaming service and go strictly to vinyl, because honestly, it's a little cumbersome. And it takes up a lot of space, and that's some of the reasons not for it. But if you find an artist that you really like and you love the record, buy the record or buy the CD.
Yeah.
CDs are making a huge company. I even saw cassettes. People buy cassettes like crazy nowadays.
Yeah, man.
So,
And do that. And then you can put it in your computer and burn it onto your hard drive.
Whatever you need to do.
Whatever you need to do. And then you're bypassing all of the other nastiness that goes with some of these DSPs.
Oh, and they make infinitely more money, exponentially more money from you buying a record, especially at the show.
Yeah.
Because they're selling it for whatever they paid for
and
it.
then you got a
plus their
chance to
margin.
support it through merch
Yep.
and everything else like that. So
And
that's
we're big merch guys. We love merch.
Yeah, we do. Yep.
You know?
Yeah. That's really the way to do it. And if it continues in this way, and I'll just sort of forecast until we get to the next version of this episode, but I think what we're going to start finding is a systematic further devaluation of an artistic middle class, where you're going to have people that are young and idealistic and don't care if they're going to couch surf for the next 10 years as they try to, grind through becoming a superstar. And you're going to have people that are have financial means to where they make their money doing other things, or they've retired or what have you, and they can afford to do music.
Right.
And I think that that's where late stage capitalism is kind of taking us in this domain. And AI, unfortunately, is not helping. It's further exacerbating.
That's right. It's helping, but it's not helping anyone but the rich.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. And you think about it, when the president of the CEO of Spotify is worth more than the entire recorded industry, we've got an issue.
like and subscribe. Come check us out on all the socials and what have you. Say hello. Send us messages.
Yeah.
I got enough time to talk to you. If you want that.
I'm waiting for that one to come
Yeah,
through.
right. That's really going to bite me in the ass. Anyway, earworm out.
Earworm out.